Welcome to episode 54 of the Power and Light podcast. My name is Josiah Wonnell. Today I am joined by Preston Graber and Jude Meili, and today we will be giving our preview of the 2025 NBA Finals between the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Indiana Pacers. So, Preston Graber, can you just start us off and explain to us, help us out with how we got here with these two teams?
Yeah, well, wasn't an easy task to get here for the Pacers. Took them a little bit. They had to go through a very difficult team in the Knicks, but they made it past them. And then OKC kind of just rolled through after the first round. Didn't have to burn too much energy, kept it really light. So the Pacers are clearly the more tired team coming in, and OKC is pretty well rested.
It's a tale of two different stories because this year, if you look at the entirety of the year, the Thunder have been dominant, and we talked about that in a previous episode, but they finished the regular season with the NBA best 68-14 record, an incredible season for them, only losing those 14 games. And throughout these playoffs, not only are they 12-4, but they also have been dominant in their scoring totals, outscoring opponents of as much as 30-plus points. I mean, it's insane how they've defeated very solid playoff teams and how they've gotten here. They've been dominant. Now, on the other side, it's the Indiana Pacers, who some would call a Cinderella run. They began their season 10-15, completely different. Before they even started to get on the right path, they had already lost more games than the Thunder would lose the entire regular season. But then all of a sudden they got it together, and they have created this run that helped them reach the first finals since 2000, before any of us were born. So, Jude Meili, there's two different types of teams right here, but let's start with the Thunder. They've been dominant, and it's for it's for one main reason alone. A guy you could call SGA. Jude Meili, what's your thoughts on the man who's been carrying this Thunder team?
I mean, he's just an amazing player. I mean, the way he scores in high-pressure situations, his amazing free throw percentage, the way he baits fouls. I mean, he's just a scoring machine. I mean, the second Canadian to win the MVP award, that is just incredible. I mean, there's nothing really more to say except that he's just the best player on the court at all times, and he will be in this championship series.
Right out of the gate, Jude calling who could be a potential NBA Finals MVP in SGA. He's averaging around 30 points per game in this playoffs. He has been electric, but he has guys around him, and Preston and I discussed this earlier, but Preston, let's talk about the Pacers now. Like I said, they're on a Cinderella run in terms of what they have seen on the other side with the Thunder's dominance. The Pacers were not supposed to be here 25 games into the season, and yet they turned things around. They had some electric and iconic moments throughout these playoffs. The Pacers are now here. What do they have to do to go win this series and complete one of the greatest Cinderella runs of this decade?
Well, I think they got to shut down the big three that we talked about in our last episode for OKC and Jalen Williams, Shea, and Chet. And honestly, looking at the roster here for the Pacers, I think they have a shot. You know, they've got Siakam, they've got Miles Turner, and they've got Halliburton. And if they bring the intensity, if they play their hearts out, I do think they could slow them down. Stop them completely, definitely not. But they could definitely make it a much closer game than we expected.
You just mentioned Pascal Siakam, and I think his addition and his presence on this Indianapolis team obviously has made a huge impact. But in this series, I think will make an important impact because he was a member of that Toronto Raptors championship roster. And I'm curious, Preston, how much of an impact do you think that will make with this guy who's coming in with tons of experience, even though the guys around him don't necessarily have that? And on the other side, there are some veterans on that team, but Oklahoma City is a young team, primed for a dynasty run if they could pull off a win here. But they are a young team. They don't have the experience, especially on that championship level that Siakam has. Looking at those two sides of this storyline in the championship, who do you think has the advantage in terms of youth versus experience?
I mean, it's really just a fine line to draw there. The youth could be very beneficial, saying, oh, they're excited to be here for the first time. But then on the other side of the ball, Siakam's been here. He's done it. The pressure shouldn't get to him. It could still. We don't know how he plays or how he acts, but he's able to guide the locker room a little bit more. And then on the other side with OKC, we see Caruso being a veteran, but with not as much playoff experience as Siakam. So it will be interesting to see there how Siakam can lead the team.
Jude, I just want to ask a general sports question from you because we've talked about it. I've already alluded to it a couple times. But there's the advantage of experience versus youth, but then there's also the advantage of the domination that the Thunder have had versus the momentum that the Pacers have behind them. Those two characteristics are really the driving force for both of these teams. So Pacers momentum, Thunder's consistency and dominance in certain games. Jude, which one do you think is more beneficial for these two teams?
I mean, we're really going back to the unmovable object and the unstoppable force kind of dynamic. I don't see a clear answer here. This is the same thing as the Super Bowl this year. I thought the Chiefs were just going to be that unstoppable object or the immovable object versus the unstoppable force that I was seeing as the Philadelphia Eagles, but I was surprised. And right now I'd say the Thunder being that immovable object has the advantage. But I think every time we say something like that, oh, they're going to win this, they're going to dominate this, they've got the advantage here. I mean, it's always proven wrong. Going off of instinct, though, I'd say a consistent team that has proven throughout the season that they can do it deserves to be the one that people say, oh, yeah, they're going to have the advantage here. But it's just really too hard to say.
I think I completely agree with you, Jude, that there's a reason both of these teams are in the championship. Because regardless of what you think about rankings and regular season records, these are the two best teams because they won their respective conferences. That's just how it works. There's no other way to really quantify that in the playoffs. But if you look back in the regular season, middle of the regular season, these two teams play, you are a little bit more confident who's going to win because the Thunder won both of the matchups during the regular season, including a 132-1 victory back on March 29th. Now, that was a while ago. But that wasn't too long ago, considering how long that season is. But Shai Gilgeous-Alexander had 33 points. He was dominant against a team he's about to play. And so you look back at it, and the Pacers, they're the clear underdog. But now they've gone on, and they've beat some very formidable opponents, and they're here now. The question is, will that momentum push them to an eventual ring? So that is kind of our breakdown of what is to come. Now I'd like to get some predictions, and we're going to start with who we think will win the series, how many games, and who we think our MVP of the series will be. My hope, I'll start us off, my hope is that this is a 7-game series. I'm okay with either team winning because I'm a fan of Golden State, but these are two teams that I really like. Their markets are not massive. They're two solid teams, and they're fun to watch. And they've got young stars. So I'm okay with either team winning. I do believe that Oklahoma City will win, but I hope and I think it will go to 7 games because Indiana has this fire behind them, this momentum, as I mentioned, that might propel them to a possible victory. All right, and my finals MVP, I think there's nobody else to go with on that Oklahoma City team but Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, but there's some other guys that put their name in the hat. I'd love to see Alex Caruso play a big part in it, but he will not win the finals MVP. That will be SGA. All right, Jude, your turn for your predictions for the 2025 NBA Finals.
So first off, I think Oklahoma City is going to win the series overall, and I think Shai will get the MVP award. But in terms of how many games, I'm thinking 5. And the way I think it's going to go is Oklahoma City wins 3, and everybody's like, oh, wow, this is going to be a sweep. But then the Pacers have that crazy game 4, make it look like it might be a series, and then, no, it's not a series. 5 games, it's over.
They closed the door. I like it, Jude. All right, Preston, finish us off with our predictions for the NBA Finals.
My predictions for the NBA Finals is going to stay home. OKC is going to win 4-2 with SGA taking home the MVP.
And how many games, Preston, will it take?
That'll be 6 games.
6 games. All right, a clean sweep across the board for us. That does not always work out well for the show, but sometimes it does. And our thought process, regardless of how we came to our conclusion, we all pick Oklahoma City. As Jude prepares the quote of the day, I'd like to just thank you for listening to the Power and Light podcast. This has been episode 54. We're very excited for the 20th Finals. This is your preview between the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Indiana Pacers. OKC, our pick, all three of us, to win it all. All right, Jude, send us out with the quote of the day for episode 54.
Okay, so this quote of the day kind of applies to the Pacers position. You know, many might say, oh, it's impossible. Like early in the season, they might have been like, it's impossible for this team to come back and win it. But the quote of the day is, when a thing has to be attempted, one must never think about possibility or impossibility, by C.S. Lewis.